Hello, everybody. I am Hoarder Gamer, and this is Hoarder's Comic Flex. I hope that you had a good week, and I hope again that I'm not going to make the week any worse, maybe hopefully a little better, or just about the same as it's been for you. So that's my hope. Hoarder's Comic Flex, we have a comic book review. That's at the end of the episode, though. We have some video game news and, I guess, thoughts and ideas, I guess I would put it as. It's not like reviews, so thoughts and ideas. Then we also toy around for a bit, and we look at the very near future of comic books, all the way to 1 week from today. Hey, Crinky, how you doing? So, we're going to begin with video games. And if you've seen this show before, there's a game I've probably brought up more than any other, Diablo 4. And it's not just because I love the game, it's because there's constantly things to talk about. If there isn't a new season, then there's changes to the meta. There's changes to the characters, itemization, all of that. And now we're going to see changes to power with the new season, which also coincides, of course, with the big expansion Vessel of Hatred on October 8th. Here in the Central Time Zone, it's available at 6 p.m. on Monday, the 7th. So, Vessel of Hatred and the Season of Hatred Rising. That's the name of the season. We just got that name. Agatha and Penguin. Agatha, yeah, new episode tonight. I'll probably be watching that after this. And Penguin's been great. I've watched the first 2 episodes and I really like it a lot. Okay, 1 second here. Took some screenshots to help me with some information here because there's a lot to cover. So, this season has a Realm Walker World event, okay? And this is directly from Blizzard. So this is on their website, Diablo.com. You can get this information. And I put it into my own words and I added some details too. So, Realm Walkers spread Mephisto's hatred throughout the land. Face them in a world event and defeat torrents of twisted enemies. Slay the Realm Walkers and use their own portals to access the seething realms. Help the Zakarum remnants fight back against the corruption and earn Crusaders' favor and rewards. And I will go into more detail and kind of explain what that means in a moment. And then the seasonal activity. Mephisto's hatred seeps from the jungles of Nahantu, spreading his corruption throughout the sanctuary in the form of a foul black ichor. Remnants of the Zakarum order long ago, brought low by the Lord of Hatred's insidious touch, offer the contents of their armory as a reward for any heroes willing to push back against a creeping threat. And the threat are known as the Hollows. So, I believe it is a new monster family, the Hollows, and they are supposed to be disturbing. So, it'll be interesting. I think we've seen a little bit of them in some of the trailers, but not much. So, that's officially right there. That's officially from Blizzard, Diablo.com, okay? But, also, I kind of broke that into my own words. And, so, the Realm Walker, okay? The new mechanic involves Realm Walkers, giant beasts with portals on their backs. They start out submerged in the ground. You fight some enemies and the Walker emerges and goes on a journey. You follow it and kill the enemies it spawns. It's invincible, except for specific spawning enemies that whittle down its health when defeated. Once its journey ends, you face it head on, and at its defeat, you enter the portal on its back and go to hell. The objective is a special type of opal, which is your reward for beating the hell dungeon known as a seething realm. These opals are huge buffs and stack with elixirs and incense. So basically, it's 15% extra experience. If you add a potion with an elixir with that, that's like an extra like 8%, if not more. And then you could add incense with that too. So you're looking at like 25, 30% extra experience. And then there's other buffs that these opals offer as well. And those buffs will assist you in the other game content that you can do, and you can choose what you want to do. So I thought that was a really cool way to go about it. I think it's a neat mechanic, and basically you can do that as often as you want if you want to hunt down realm walkers. They're going to be a world event, very similar to like world bosses or legion events. So it's going to tell you like when a realm walker is going to come through and like what region they're going to be in. So it's going to be pretty interesting. I think they look really neat. Realm walkers were in Diablo 3. I'm not certain if they were in Diablo 2, but I do remember them in Diablo 3. And yeah, they have a giant portal on their back. And once you defeat them, you get to go through that portal. So now, we also have some other really cool information. We have the different mercenaries that join us. I've mentioned them before. We have a child like possessed by a demon, like a devil child type of thing. We have a shield bearer. We have a cannibal crone. Not the band Cannibal Corpse, everybody. We have a cannibal crone. And we also have a drunken archer. So if you're playing single player, you're able to use one of these cool mercenaries, and I think that's going to be awesome. I'm very much looking forward to that. I think the Devil Child will be interesting for me. I'll try all of them out, but I just see that I don't know if the Shield Bearer will fit my aesthetic. I expect him not to have a lot of excellent quips or anything, and he's really the most like regular character, you know. I mean, you have like a cannibal witch, you know, a possessed devil, you know. Also too, I guess the drunken archer, while that's a funny joke, right? You know, maybe he misses some shots because he's drunk. The two real standouts, the two really interesting characters, I think, as mercenaries are the Devil Child and the Cannibal Crone. So I'm looking forward to that. The Dark Citadel is an awesome raid type experience for 2 to 4 players where you work together to get through it. And there's going to be some cool rewards if you get through the Dark Citadel, I believe it is, by the end of early November. I think it's like roughly a month after the launch of Vessel of Hatred, which again, in the Central Time Zone, we found out is going to be 6 p.m. Central this upcoming Monday. So Monday the 7th. But the regular release date, we initially thought everywhere was going to be the 8th of October. And technically it is because it launches at the same time everywhere. So, yeah. But I am very excited for it. I'm going to be doing a Spiritborn. That's actually the new class of character that you can play as. Some people are deciding that they want to do existing classes. They've really changed the rogue and gave them, I think, an ability called Dance of Knives. That's another thing they did, everybody. They went through abilities and changed them. They changed passives. It's going to be very interesting to see how all this is going to go for people, how they're going to like it. Instead of going up to 50 levels and then going to Paragon of 200 levels, now you go through 60 levels, and Paragon goes up to 300. So that's a lot of power available to you. So, and quarterstaffs and glaives are the big weapons for the Spiritborn. So that'll be something very interesting too to see in the Vessel of Hatred, as well as, you know, checking out Nahantu, jungles and deserts. It should be pretty awesome. Very much looking forward to it. Okay, now, that's not the only game I'm going to be talking about. I also got a chance to play the demo. Actually, I like to say it like this. The demo as a question, you know, of Metaphor Re Fantazio. So I say it like that because my playthrough of the demo of Metaphor Re Fantazio was 8 hours. 8 hours is very long for a demo. We're not talking about a beta, we're talking about a demo. A single player role playing game demo, and it was 8 hours. It can be as short as, I want to say, probably 5 to 6 hours if you're not skipping cinemas and everything, but my playthrough was like 8 hours. So you have like this prologue part you do, and the first 3 days after the prologue. What I did, and why it was 8 hours, instead of doing little small things in the day and in the evening, using up 3 days, I immediately went into a dungeon. And basically what happens then is, if you don't leave the dungeon and, you know, progress the day-night cycle type of thing, right? Basically, you're there until you get to a certain point and the game cuts you off. And that's what it did. So it doesn't let you get through the entire dungeon. It lets you get to a mini boss, which for me was a knight surrounded by undead soldiers, including the first I took out in that group, a mage. Because as soon as I saw an undead mage, I said to myself, I bet that asshole's gonna heal everyone else. I'll bet you if I don't kill that guy, he's going to heal everyone. So I took him out right away. So quickly, actually, that I don't know if that's what he did, because I wasn't focusing on any of the other enemies until that mage was gone. So they didn't have to heal. They weren't hurt. So, but yeah, imagine Persona 5 or Shin Megami Tensei with a ton of quality of life changes that let you play the game your way. It is actually viable to have a team of brawlers just like overwhelming enemies with damage. Like, you don't have to focus so heavily on enemy weaknesses. That's definitely a part of it, but it's not as beholden to that concept as it was in the Persona and like Shin Megami Tensei series. Plus, the idea here is you're not like getting a character to make a pact with you, as in like, you know, an enemy thing that you defeat or whatever, and then it joins you, and then you can bring that out in a fight. You have archetypes, and there's apparently up to 40 archetypes. So your character transforms into this crazy mech-looking thing with a mechanical heart, and yeah, it's pretty wild, actually. And you're able to choose different classes, and you can change things up as to be like, that's your favorite class, you can work on that one, or you can jump to another one. So it's really awesome. I've been enjoying it a lot. One thing I don't think anyone's noticed, which I thought was wild, is just like in Persona, there's this like dream type realm. In Persona 4, I believe it was like a big stretch limo, and in Persona 5, it was like a prison. In here, it's academia, and it looks like a giant library. And who's the head of this library? A man by the name of Moore. M-O-R-E. And what book did this Moore write? Utopia. So basically, if you know history well, it's an analog of Thomas More, a real person. I actually went to that high school when I was a teenager, Thomas More, here in Wisconsin. And yeah, that's a real person. And Utopia was a book that upset a lot of people and he got imprisoned for. And Moore, in this game, was imprisoned by the king for something he did, and we don't know what that is. So that's crazy. I was not expecting analogs of real life people. Visually, it looks absolutely nothing like him. Because, you know, they're like thoughts and depictions of what Thomas More looked like back then, you know, like descriptions and stuff. But, like, yeah, I was like, that's insane. And the characters are awesome. Gallica is a fairy, and she's not annoying. She's helpful. You care about her right away. Very good voice performance for Gallica. I think she's great. Then there's a character named Stroll, who was a noble. So, like, you know, you think rich and famous and everything, except his village was burned down. And he was a noble in the country. So he didn't have the same type of money and everything that most of the other nobles had. And now you add all that plus this wild system of, I want to say it's 8 different tribes, and this terrible prejudice against the different tribes. And one of the main reasons the king is actually killed within the first 5 minutes. I haven't ruined anything for you, anybody. The reason that king is killed in the first 5 minutes, one of the main things he wanted to do is make it so that prejudice would be gone and all the 8 tribes would be accepted. But there's a character that was not big on that, and he's a scary military genius. He's also a wunderkind, so he's very young. And yeah, he also killed the king's son, which you find out early on too. Again, I'm not spoiling anything for you. And there's a lot of twists and turns. I'm not going to get into everything. In fact, what I just told you all doesn't spoil anything because they're twists and turns. You'll just have to see for yourself. If you're a fan, though, of Persona or Shin Megami Tensei, I highly recommend you download the demo for Metaphor Re Fantazio. It's, you know, free to download. It's just a regular demo, but it can be up to 8 hours, and I think that's going to be one of the best games this year. I've been really impressed by it. I played the demo twice. I went a different route with the demo and even fought a different boss when I got my 8-hour playthrough than I did with roughly a 6-hour playthrough when I played off stream on the Xbox. There was a dragon that completely kicked my ass in the 8-hour playthrough. And at first it seemed like, well, this is challenging, but if I keep healing and everything and using a special the techniques and stuff, this is going okay. Then he did a tail whip. Not one tail whip, not 2 tail whips, 3. And by the time he was done with all 3 tail whips, which were in a row, my entire party was dead. And I was warned many times not to take this dragon on, and I wasn't ready for it. And the funny thing is, it was an accident. It made it look like this dragon was sleeping and I could sneak around him, almost like super carefully, right? And get to a treasure. No. As you get close enough, you realize there is no gap. You were at an angle, and once you approach the dragon, there is no gap. And the dragon wakes up. And things go terribly for you. So. Also, I've been playing, what is it? Epic Mickey Rebrushed. I always get the rebrushed part. I always forget that part. I loved Epic Mickey when I played it back on the Wii. But there were many limitations on the Wii, and while some things were really cool, some things were not. The camera was very upsetting. Trying to make jumps and not making them repeatedly was not a lot of fun in that game. What was a lot of fun is this very dark vibe. Like, if you're a fan of Nightmare Before Christmas and Disney, or like Kingdom Hearts, I think you're really gonna dig this game. You're basically out to destroy the Phantom Blot, which is this like ink-like evil, this ooze, and you have the choice to use either paint or paint thinner. Paint lets you create, paint thinner lets you destroy. And you're constantly making that decision as you play the game. And I believe it has 2 different endings depending on what you focus on more. Plus, basically you can like defeat or like kill an enemy with paint thinner, or you can use paint and turn them to your side. And you can do that even with bosses. And you'll get different rewards depending on it. It's a really cool game. I think most people will replay it. And I've been enjoying it a lot. Now, I will say, in the US, the retail price at $60 seems like a lot for a regular remaster. But if you go on YouTube, you can see the level of love and care they put into this remaster. It's damn near more a remake, because they went like freaking frame by frame and adding tons of detail where there wasn't any before, and like even like embellishing and making things look even better than they did before, as well as giving a number of new abilities to Mickey. So they really went all out with this. And my only fear, though, is at that price, they won't sell enough that will justify them to redo Epic Mickey 2, which was, I felt, even darker and weirder. And it was available on like PlayStation and Xbox. It wasn't just the Wii. So, yeah, I really enjoy it, and I'm happy I picked it up. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to replay it too. So. Plus, you get to unlock actual cartoons that were like remastered and enjoy those as well. So, I like that a lot. And with that, everybody, we are done with video game news. Now it is time for us to toy around. And I apologize, this week is not a heavy toying around week. Besides seeing some hot toys that I think everyone has already seen, I think they were at a convention or a show. Hot Toys was showing off some of its new action figures. It's, you know, awesome 12-inch figures. There wasn't much new. A lot of it was just like, hey, this is back in stock. You can get it again. But I did find some pretty cool things, though. So, oddly enough, this week it's really heavily on McFarlane. So let's start with McFarlane Captain America. In case everybody didn't know, McFarlane had the license for DC and did a lot of really awesome DC figures, and they still do, okay? But they got the license for Marvel to do posed statues. And most of them are based on specific comic book covers. Here's a really nice Captain America, and this is, I believe, in the 1/10 scale, I think it is. There's two different scales that their figures come in, and two different price points. So the smaller ones are $29.99, okay? All of them are very detailed, but like, smaller ones $29.99, larger ones, which are like 1/6 scale, like a 12-inch figure, those are $50, okay? They also have like backgrounds and then also like a stand base type of thing that they sit on. So that's really cool too. So it's not just, you know, the figure. There's more to it than that. But here's Captain America. They've done 2 Spider-Men already. So they had Spider-Man in that smaller scale and one in larger scale. I actually pre-ordered the larger one. I haven't gotten it yet, though, but it looks really, really cool. Here we go with Miles Morales. So we got a really cool Miles Morales here, and I believe that he is in the I think it's 1/10. I believe it is the larger scale, actually. But I think he looks really good. I like him a lot. And after Miles, we have Venom. We have Venom, everybody. I think he looks phenomenal. It makes sense he would, because he was a Todd McFarlane creation, and this is McFarlane Toys. So, could you imagine if the Venom was the worst toy they did? That would be like if his Spawn figures were bad. Like, that'd be insane. Anyway, I really love this Venom, and yes, I believe he's from a Venom cover. I'm not sure if it's Lethal Protector or what, but it's a really good-looking Venom there. I know, these toys are great. These posed statues that they're doing for Marvel are excellent. I'm really a big fan of them. And everybody, they've done a Wolverine, okay? So they haven't forgotten X-Men fans. But look who else is on the way. Magneto. A really cool looking Magneto. All these pre-orders go live on the 10th of October. So I believe that's next Thursday. So yeah, definitely if you're interested, try to pre-order them. I can tell you this, that a lot of them, at least at Amazon, are sold out. Like the older ones. And by older, I only mean a few months. You know, it's not like we're talking years back or anything. But yeah, these have been very popular so far. I'm sure part of it has to do with specific characters and the specific covers they're recreating or specific looks. But yeah, I absolutely love the Venom and the Magneto. Obviously, they're going to be doing so many characters, I can't afford them all. But Venom and Magneto, I will probably try to get. Look at the face on Magneto. Look at the helmet. It's really well done. And this is where I say, I apologize. I went to McFarlane Toys. I went to Preternia, which is one of my favorite accounts on Twitter. Definitely check out Preternia. Definitely use his links sometimes to do pre-orders. It definitely benefits him. And he's got really great posts constantly about new toys. And I also checked out Hasbro Pulse. And there just really wasn't all that much available. Again, a lot of it was like, oh, this is in stores now. This pre-order happened 3 or 4 months ago. Well, look what we saw in stores. That's what a lot of this week was, except for these incredible looking McFarlane toys. And even these, right, were shown briefly at San Diego Comic-Con a few months ago. So, okay. Now, we are done toying around for a week, everybody. It is time for us to look into the future of comics. You like how I timed that? Make Magneto disappear and go to future of comics? The future of comic books, all the way to 1 week from today. Okay. And first up, we have... Look at this. Absolute Batman #1. Scott Snyder. Batman without the money, without the mansion, and without the butler. But it looks like he doesn't skip leg day or back day, arm day, any of those days. This is a jacked Batman. Absolute Batman. And it should be a very interesting take on Batman. They're doing Absolute Superman and Absolute Wonder Woman as well. And it's some of the best artists and writers in comics that are doing these books. So I definitely am looking forward to Absolute Batman. Yes, there's a very good chance I will review this next week. However, this is also the beginning of Hoardtober. So I am trying to focus on horror-themed comics as much as I can for reviews. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that pans out. Yes, I can totally see that. I can totally see that. And that bat symbol, that is crazy. That is a crazy take on the bat symbol. Some theories are that that's not the exact symbol, that like there's like a shielding there or something, and that we'll actually see the real symbol later on. I don't know. I don't know. But I am looking forward to this take on Batman. Batman's one of my... Batman is actually my favorite comic book character. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. Absolute Batman next week. With a ton of crazy covers. There's like, I think 7 or 8. There's a ton of covers you can get for this book. Okay. Next up we have... Second. Terminator. By Declan Shalvey. Okay, this should be a very cool Terminator comic book. Basically, it's the idea that killing Sarah Connor failed. Killing John Connor failed. So, they basically look at all the different freedom fighters and people that worked with John and Sarah, and now are going through time and putting a whole mess of Terminators out there to hunt and kill all of them. I think that will be a hell of a time. And it's like, where do you go where nowhere is safe and every place is a war zone? That's an actual take from the solicit for this book. And Declan Shelby writing it means it should be pretty incredible. So, The Terminator. That's coming from Dynamite, actually. Dynamite Comics, Terminator 1. One of my favorite current comic books, Transformers. Okay? The Transformers book that is coming from Skybound Image has been incredible. I've read the entire first 12 issues. Issue 12 ended with a crazy cliffhanger, such that I honestly thought they were going to go months without new issues, and then do a new story arc. No. Here's issue 13. And basically it's the idea of Starscream's past will shape his future. So that should be very interesting, and Starscream has been a very interesting character in this series. Especially when he realized that there were many that wanted to usurp him, including Shockwave. So, even if you think like Transformers are all kitty and toy, no, this is honestly some of the best writing and characterization of these characters I've ever seen. And yeah, the Transformers has been a really damn good comic. Transformers 13 out next week. This might be what I review for Hortober, because it is technically kind of sort of a horror supernatural book. Minor Arcana. Basically, a young woman finds out that her mother, who did the tarot cards and everything like that, basically there's some sort of, truth to it all. And it seems like this young lady could be trapped in a tarot card or in some crazy, like, magic spell or universe. Because she talks about in the first issue of not having control of her life and constantly going through the same patterns. And the tower you see her enter early on, or you see in a dream actually she has early on in issue 1, is shown and depicted in a tarot card in the ending of the first issue. So there's definitely some questions to be asked with Minor Arcana. And Jeff Lemire is one of my favorite comic book writers. So I very much liked issue 1. And yes, there's a chance I will review issue 2. Again, being Hortober, I'm going to try to get a horror book and we'll see how it goes, Honestly, I feel I might have to do both Absolute Batman and Minor Arcana, probably. So we'll have that horror book for Hortober, but I don't know that I could not review Absolute Batman. I don't know that I could do that, so. And finally, everybody, I have not forgotten Marvel Comics. Conquest 2099, Spider-Man 2099, Nova, and Dracula. So basically, Dracula has had a pretty big win recently, and he's looking for a new vampire home world. And apparently when he finds it, he gets information he doesn't like. That's quite upsetting. And Steve Orlando is an excellent writer. I actually had the opportunity to interview him roughly about, I'd say, a year and a half ago. A really nice guy, and Conquest 2099 sounds very cool. So definitely check that out. Looks neat. Could also lead into very huge things in Marvel. It feels to me like this is like a setup for something massive based on the way they're talking about it. Conquest 2099. And with that, everybody, we are done looking at comic books, all the way the near future of comic books, all the way to 1 week from today. Now, we come to the end of our show. But before we end the show, we have a review, and it is Hyde Street. Hyde Street right here. And the best intro I can give you to Hyde Street. Look at that, two of them. Two of them. Wait till I tell you about that little marmoset on his head. Okay. Bear with me for just a moment, everybody. There is a street just right around the corner, both familiar and unknown. A street branching off every small town square and cutting through every big city avenue. It is a place where the wicked and cruel are drawn to the crossroads of morality and madness, with the inevitable destination of not merely death, but something far worse. This is the street of men and monsters. This, it is a place we call Hyde Street. So very much in the vein of Twilight Zone and Rod Serling having, like that narration at the beginning and end of Twilight Zone episodes. I think in the larger ones, he may have had more narration, actually. Like, there were some where Twilight Zone was an hour, and those might be a little bit different. But, yeah, this is awesome. So, it's not like Twilight Zone in that it's not an anthology of horror. It's recurring characters in this terrible nightmare place because of horrible things they've done in their lives. Okay? So you have Pranky, who is the most dangerous and perhaps evil Boy Scout ever. And he gets badges for getting people killed in different ways, including an elderly lady who he helps cross the street with her groceries. But as he does this, he asks and talks to her about how she was able to use arsenic in order to kill her family. And when she doesn't admit to it, basically she gets hit by a steamroller. A steamroller badge appears on Pranky's sash. I was like, okay, that's a really great intro. Then you meet Xavier, the X-ray specs man. He and his business partner wanted to open up like one of those things you saw in like the 1980s, 1970s comic books where like they sold like gimmicks, pranks, and like, fake things like X-ray specs. His business partner felt like that wouldn't be a good idea, that you're fleecing and bilking kids. Kids are going to think this stuff is real. And Xavier's like, no, it all makes sense. We should do this. And his first thing he tried to sell were the X-ray specs. Okay. Then we find out that his business partner has an issue, a number of issues actually. And basically is thought about killing himself. And there's a comment made about jumping out the window of this one building and how Xavier says, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to take care of you. Everything's going to be fine. Okay, the next day a package arrives and it's a marmoset. And we find out that just like in the movie Gremlins, where Rand Peltzer was like, the Mogwai is going to be the ultimate gift of the holidays for all kids or whatever. He had that concept. Well, it's similar to that, except like his business partner is like, no, it's a terrible idea. You can't do that. And the marmoset goes nuts, freaks out, ends up jumping out that window 14 floors and dying. Meanwhile, was it a few days later, a few weeks later, his business partner jumps out that same window and dies. He's visited then later by his daughter And it's basically because the daughter has nowhere to turn. His young daughter comes there after the mother, I believe, either she passes away or it's a situation where she left and she's in a bad place, needs to get out of it. He rebuffs her. He doesn't care. He leaves that building that they work at with his, or where he worked with his business partner, and he comes across Pranky. And he realizes as soon as he exits the building, he's no longer where he was before. And we find out in this book that there's a very rough dynamic between Xavier, or X-Ray, and Pranky. So the Boy Scout and this person selling all this stuff, they do not get along, and there's definitely a history there. Plus you find out about Dr. Ego, Miss Goodbody. There's these other characters that apparently have done terrible things and are there to bring people to damnation for something or someone called the Scorekeeper and his dark demands. So there's a lot of really cool mysteries here, a lot of interesting characters, although for the most part we really only see like 2, 3 kind of. But yeah, it's basically like a Twilight Zone type of vibe, except these recurring characters are caught in it, and all of them would like to get out. And it sounds like one of the main story arcs is about Xavier, X-Ray Specs right there, trying to get out of it, if he can. So, also, Pranky, he really doesn't have any qualms. If he has to kill, he'll kill. The whole idea there on Hyde Street is they're all supposed to be guides, kind of like taking them through and like seeing what the person's decision is. But Pranky doesn't really care about that. He's really happy to kill. So it's going to be very interesting as this book goes on. I very much liked Hyde Street, and I feel it was a very good intro to Hoarder. So it's written by Jeff Johns with art by Ivan Rice, and the art is gorgeous. When you see Pranky and his eyes turn black, and you see like this cruelty in his face, this kid, and it's a kid, right? It's a Boy Scout. It's really intense. The faces look great. X-Ray Specs, I forget, they say his entire name here, but Xavier was the part that I focused on because, you know, X-Ray. But everybody, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have yourself a great week. And yeah, if you like this show, feel free to sub. And if you know someone that would like to watch it or give it a chance, yeah, tell them, you know, I greatly appreciate it. Again, I don't like to harp and preach during the entire video. I like to bring that up at the end type of thing. So that's what I do. But yeah, thank you very much, everybody. If you want to see more of me, twitch.tv/HoarderGamer. Right now, I'm doing, well, I'll be doing a lot of Diablo 4 very soon. I am doing Funko Fusion currently. I am still working on Epic Mickey Rebrushed, and of course, Metaphor Re Fantazio, and at some point, Silent Hill 2. So that should be a lot of fun. Also, Hero Mentor and I, we have this fun thing we do on, it's on the weekends. It's usually Sundays, but I believe this one will be Saturday. You'll be able to check it out on YouTube. We're going to interview Sebastian Croteau, so that's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to that. I believe he's the head of a Monster Factory and does a lot of incredible like creatures and noises and things and different projects. So I look very forward to interviewing him. That's going to be really neat. And then Games on a Plane. So just gamesonAplane.com on twitch.tv. Actually, it's you just go to gamesonAplane.com. It'll take you there. It's Xbox Live Mike and I as we play games on a plane. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great week, okay? Bye-bye. Thank you, Cricky. Thank you.